Hey folks, it's Tom, your Frugal Prepper. So I want to talk a bit about using a handgun for self-defense. Is different than shooting at a range, right? But you can practice a lot of stuff at your range. My range does not allow me to draw from a holster and fire, right? There's holes in the concrete where I think people have tried that. So they don't allow that. They allow a 2-shot maximum rapid fire, right? And you have to live with those constraints, but still try to train as good as you can. Now, I have an airsoft Glock that I fire at home. My Glock 42 is what I normally carry. What I have today is my Glock 45, because my Glock 42 is at the Glock Armor getting repaired. So it finally broke. Going to do this with the Glock 45. This gun is cleared and unloaded. I have no ammunition out for this gun, or no live ammunition. I have 2 of my dummy rounds. These are just rounds that I reload, but they have a spent primer and no powder in them, right? And I mark them with the black Sharpie marker. All right. So what I want to talk about first in defensive shooting, up close and personal shooting, is point and shoot. And you'll start with this at like 3 yards, and you'll move out to 5 yards, and then 7 yards is what I'm working on right now. And I get most of the shots in at 7 yards, but once in a while one of them hits outside that zone. So I'm just working on that and practicing it more and more. But point shooting is, if you point your finger at something, right? You're going to hold your hand kind of sideways a little bit at an angle, and you're going to point at it with your finger, right? And this isn't anything I've been taught or trained. This is just what I do. It's what I've figured out that works. I have had official training, but not on point shooting. So I hold my gun up and I point, like I'm pointing with my finger, right? I'm going to shoot that right there. Boom, right? And what you can do is you can do this two-handed too. You hold it up at a slight angle and you're pointing like with this finger right here down the slide, right? And yeah, that's good, right? So you're just pointing at it, and what you do is you pick a target, you look at it, you point your gun at it, and then you look down those sights and you see that they're just about dead on every time. And you'll practice that till they are dead on. And different guns have different angles on their grips in different ways, but the Glock grip is angled this much, and I figured out why. It always feels weird and it's angled so much, so that when you point and shoot, it's a natural point of aim. Your hand is right in that exact position, and if you're pointing at it, that's how you point. Right? Alright, if I do a Ruger and it has lesser grip angle, it'll always be low when I point and shoot. A Glock keeps that angle so that you can point and shoot at something. At least that's why I think they did it. It's an advantage of the Glock angle grips. And so you point and you shoot. And now I fire at an Opata target. This is an Opata target over here. It's all getting ready to fall down. This is my airsoft range. I have an airsoft Glock that I practice and train with down here in the basement. But anywhere in that grayish area in the middle there, those are all kill shots. Those are all considered disabling kill shots, right? They might not kill the person, but they'll definitely disable them, right? And so that's Ohio Peace Officers Training target. That's what they use, and my range does that training, so I keep plenty of those targets on hand, and I really like those targets. So what I normally do also is practice my malfunctions and my reloads. So for reloads, we'll take one empty magazine, we'll load that in. Now, what I do at the range is I load 2 rounds in that magazine and both magazines, but I'm at home and I can't fire, so we're just going to pretend this one's empty, alright? This one will have a round in it so that it'll go back in the battery. And these are fake rounds, they're not real ones, right? And then, so I've fired my 2 shots. Boom, boom, right? And so now I want to practice my reload. boom, boom, right? That's how I'm going to do that. Did it come out? I don't know where it went. Where did it? I thought I heard something hit back here. Huh. Oh, there it is. Okay. It fell down here. So, the other thing I'll do is I'll do malfunctions. So, in a self-defensive shooting, you're rarely going to need to do a mags reload. But it's a good idea to practice doing them fast. What you want to do is hold your finger up high on the front of the magazine like that, so you can get the magazine in and keep looking at your target. You don't have to stop and look at the gun and be like, oh yeah, okay, right? That's the way to get shot. You want to see if that guy's aiming a gun at you, if you need to duck, you need to move, right, while you're reloading. And you also sometimes will do a reload while you still have ammo left, right? You fired, this gun holds 16 rounds and you fired more than 10. You know you have a lull, a break, you want to make sure that your gun's topped off. You'll drop that mag and then grab your full mag and not drop it. And you'll insert it, and then you don't have to rack the slide because there's already one in the chamber, right? I'm sorry about that furnace, but it is cold out today. It's single digits, so it's staying running. So, the other thing that I'll do, right, is I will put a bad round in the magazine, right, so that I'm like, I'll put this one in. This one has one bad round in it, one fake round. But we'll say I just pulled the trigger, got a click, and a no bang. I will tap and rack and bang, right? Alright, so you want to practice that for a round didn't go off, right? And so normally when you're out of range and you are firing live ammunition and you know it's a live round and it doesn't go off, you wait a good 30 seconds to make sure it's not a light fire. When you're in a self-defensive situation, you do that right away, right? So I put fake rounds in, and so I know that when I get the no fire, it's most likely one of my dummy rounds. And then what you can do is put 2 bad rounds in. So you'll load some good rounds, put in 2 bad rounds, load some more good rounds on top of them. You'll have your reserve mag, right? And you'll be like, bang, it didn't work. Tap, crack, bang, it didn't work. Remove this mag, rack 3 times, insert your reserve mag, rack, and then go back to work, right? And that protects you from things like double feeds, right? You have to get those guns cleared, and those are, I think they're called like a type 3 malfunction or something, and those are the worst ones, but you can still get your gun back in operation in 2 or 3 seconds if you learn that skill. So I do that by putting 2 bad rounds in the magazine, and so I get a tap rack, no shot again, then I remove the mag, draw my reserve mag, insert it after I rack 3 times. You just rack 3 times to make sure she's clear. Because if you have like an extractor that's sticking or a round that's sticking in there, 3 times will most likely get that unstuck, right? And get your gun back in the fight. But those are just things that I practice at the range. I do a lot of the 2 and swap mags, boom, 2 more, I do not ever use the slide release on a gun, right? I never use this. That's stupid. I always come back with my other hand and rack it. It's just what I do, mainly because, well, number one, I always fire left-handed, and these controls are hard to work left-handed. When I practice like this hand's wounded and I'm shooting one-handed, I keep my hand up here, boom, 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 and then I have a bad round, then I will come up and wrap my slide up against something and get back in action. Now I can't really do those at the range because you have to keep it aimed down range. You can't come up to the bench and like that, you know. But I have practiced that before on a real range, outdoors by myself. But on the indoor range, they don't like that. So you can't do that. But you can definitely practice that with some dummy rounds at home. So, or just practice learning to rack your pistol one-handed. You just have to find something to get that to rack on. So I never use that if I'm held open like this, and I have to do a mag change, and I'm one-handed, right? I have to change my magazine. Well, let's look at that. I'm going to get down on my knees. I'm going to take my gun. I'm going to tip it over, insert the mag, right? Oh, I guess I did that with the wrong hand. Let me do that again. This hand's out of action. I fired my last round. My slide held open. I'm going to drop the mag. I'm going to put my gun down here in between my knees. I'm going to draw my reserve mag out. I'm going to drop that. I'm going to come up here. And now I'm back in action. Right? So those are important things to learn. If this other arm gets shot and you don't have it, right? And you practice that with both hands, single-handedly. And it means that you have to get down on the ground and put this in between your knees. And then get back up or just take the shot from the ground. I also normally carry my reserve mag on this side, and so it's really hard for me to reach over here and get that reserve mag because I got a big old belly, but I can do it. A lot of times when I'm carrying, I also carry a third magazine in my cargo pants pocket, which is a lot easier for me to get to and get out. So you have to think about that if you're one-handed reloading as well. How are you going to get to that reserve mag if you got a big belly like I do? It's not as big as it used to be, but it's still too big for me to reach around real easy like that. Practicing that kind of stuff is really important to being able to win in a gunfight when the chips are down and you're trying to save your life. It's fun stuff to practice, but it's important, critical stuff to practice. So just going to the range and taking your gun and being like, yeah, I hit right in the middle. Let me try again. That one was off just a half an inch. Let me try again. That's not going to help you. That's fine if you're just starting out, or if you're shooting for competition and you need to learn to make those perfect shots. Sure. You want to shoot to defend your life, you have to learn to point and shoot. Alright? And then when you start getting out like 8, 9, 10 yards, you have to start using the front sight. And that means you're not worried about the alignment of the back sight. You're just looking for, it's the front sight covering the target. Right? And the back sight's roughly there, but it's not a perfect alignment. And then when you start getting out like 15, 20, 25 yards, you really got to just line it up perfect to get that shot in the gray area. They won't necessarily come up perfect in the middle of the chest. They just have to hit the gray area. But you have to take headshots. So if you practice, like you shoot somebody twice in dead center mass and they don't go down, you have to take a headshot, and then you back up and you line up those sights and take the headshot, right? Because the headshot's harder to hit because it's a smaller target. So there is reasons to use the sights, but there's reasons to learn to shoot without using the sights. And it just takes regular practice. Like I said, I haven't had this Glock 45 out and ran through these drills with it a lot yet. So I need to take this to the range and go shoot it and run some drills with it and practice some more with it. It's been like 6 months since I've really had this out doing hardcore practice with it. Of course, I had a stroke in there for 3 months, so I was limited as to how much of that I could do at first. When I first went back to the range and started shooting, I had to sit on the stool. I had to like use my bag to balance the gun on, you know. So now I'm getting to where I can get up and move around in my stall and make those shots again, and I'm getting that back. So, but you know, it is what it is. But those are things that you want to practice. And go through, and you can get like orange plastic fake rounds. I have some of those for $3.80. So my Glock 42, I just use these orange ones. I bought a big bag of them on eBay really cheap. I don't have any in 9mm, so I just made up some dummy rounds, and I marked them with in black with a marker, so I realized they're dummy ones. And you know, when you practice this at home, make sure you don't have any live ammunition out in the room, you know, that you're going to get mixed up. You know, if I had 9mm reloads sitting on the bench, I would move them well away from where I'm practicing at. Or they're in a closed box. No real ammo. It only takes you like accidentally picking up one real round and then hitting that trigger. Also, when I practice this stuff at home, I don't normally hit the trigger. I normally only press a trigger 2 times after I've checked it. And I'm going to field strip it, because you have to on a Glock. To field strip it, you have to do that. And you have to squeeze the slide back and then pull down on this. Maybe. Yeah. And that gets them apart, right? And I don't do as good of a job working the spring on these or getting them apart since I've had my stroke, because this arm is weaker now. But you know, I'm working on that too. It used to seem like it was really easy to rack, but now it seems like, man, that's really stiff. You know, just cause my right arm is a little messed up from the stroke. Still a little numb, a little weaker, but it is what it is. You know, you just have to learn to shoot the best you can with the particular disabilities that you have, and learn how to fight the best you can with the disabilities that you have. But hopefully that just explains a little bit what goes on with practice. And when you see someone running these kind of drills at the range, don't look at their target and be like, man, you didn't do so good. They did fine. All their shots are kill shots. That's what they're aiming for. You know, all their shots are in that gray zone, that disabling kill shot zone. And so they're not looking to hit the red dot in the middle of the target like you are. They're just not. And you know, when I fire my 2 shots, I mean, I'm like, boom, boom. I wait for that gun to come back down, and boom, boom. Just a split second for it to regain where it's pointing again. You know, it's the same thing if you're using sights. You have to wait for it to come down and line those sights up before you pull the trigger again. Having a proper grip on your handgun. You know, you see people shooting like this. And that's not the right way to hold a handgun. You put this hand on, this hand around. It tucks into this little part right back here on the gun. Gets you some grip. Pulls these fingers tight. And this thumb actually rides the slide up high. That's the correct way to hold a handgun. For a long time I didn't know that, so I took some training and worked with some instructors and learned I was doing everything all wrong. And then my shooting has majorly improved since then. But that's all I got, folks. I'll talk to y'all later. It's Tom, Frugal Prepper.